I'm back with another story. Hopefully you got a chance to hear Cloudy with a Chance of Meatballs. When I read that story, I talked about how my copy of Cloudy with a Chance of Meatballs was so special because it has two stories. It has Cloudy with a Chance of Meatballs, and then it has Pickles to Pittsburgh. Both of these stories are by Judy Barrett and Ron Barrett. Ron Barrett is the artist who illustrates, and Judy Barrett is the author who wrote the story. Ready? The second story in the book, Pickles to Pittsburgh. You can see all the pickles there. I love to eat pickles. This story starts out with Grandpa, and if you can see the words on this page, he's written a letter. I'm going to read the letter to you now. Dear Henry and Kate, I'm having the best vacation ever, but I don't get much rest. I really wish you were here. Our group travels around in a big blue bus, and somehow it manages to climb up and down the tallest and bumpiest mountains and around some of the biggest plants I've ever seen. We visited many unusual places, met the local people, and even helped them out with some of their chores. I'm taking lots of pictures because this place is hard to believe. Can't wait till I see you next Thursday. Love and hugs, Grandpa. When I look at this page, I think about all of you who might have a grandma or a grandpa or an aunt or uncle or someone in your family that you miss so much. It's hard because we can't see our family right now. Thinking this idea of writing a letter to someone you're missing, and you can tell them maybe about the adventures or the things that you're doing at home. We all missed Grandpa an awful lot. His Saturday morning pancakes, his mostly funny jokes, and especially his wonderful bedtime stories. Tomorrow would be Thursday, and he'd be home. We could hardly wait to hear where he had been and what he had done. To pass the time, we helped Mom make spaghetti and meatballs for dinner. Henry made the largest meatballs we'd ever seen. You can see that big meatball in Henry's hand. They barely fit into the pot. Mom thanked us for helping, but asked that the meatballs be much smaller next time. After we finished eating, Henry and I cleared the table so we could help bake a special welcome home cake for Grandpa. It was chocolate with strawberry icing and made in the shape of Grandpa's face. We licked as much of the batter off the spoons as we possibly could. See how it looks like Grandpa? I know that some of you have been baking since you've been home. I've made cookies and banana bread, but I haven't made a cake yet. I took Grandpa's postcard up to my room and put it on the little table beside my bed. I kept staring at it and wondering. The lamplight made write a photograph of a wonderful place that seemed somehow familiar. I said good night to it and drifted off into my dreams. Do you recognize this place? You might recognize it from when we read Cloudy with a Chance of Meatballs. Surrounded by milky blue skies and with Henry as my co-pilot, we carefully steer our plane through large puffs of mist. Soon we find ourselves soaring over an island, a very lumpy island. From the air it looks like a gigantic feast. Immense vegetables, salads, and desserts lie beneath us. The mountains look like huge loaves of bread. We decide to take a closer look and prepare ourselves for a bumpy landing, avoiding some broccoli and narrowly missing a tremendous hamburger on an oversized bun. We come down and taxi on what appear to be giant strips of crisp bacon. You can see that bacon up ahead. Henry and I step down from the plane and look around in awe. Before us lies a strange but wonderful landscape. We are surrounded by larger-than-life vegetables. Nearby is a lake that smells like breakfast, bordered by leafy jungles of lettuce that resemble a tossed salad. I'm going to give you a moment to look at all the different foods. What are you noticing? I see that when we look into the pond, you can see some things that maybe you've eaten for breakfast before. And look back into the grass. What other vegetables do you see? I see some of those too. It's tricky to turn the page sometimes. We try to keep our balance as we walk around the top of a gigantic bagel and past a forest of towering carrots. One is pierced by a tunnel large enough for a car to drive through. Off in the distance, we see popcorn snowing down onto the peaks of enormous rolls. Way above our heads, high up in trees that look like broccoli, chubby birds are nesting in huge, shredded wheat biscuits. Would you like to see this picture too? You can see those bagels they were talking about. You can see the carrots and the one with the hole. Ahead of us, at the end of a long road, lies what looks like an abandoned town. Eager to know where we are, we start walking toward it. Sweet-smelling rain begins to fall. It collects in hundreds of open containers that are lined up in a field beside the road. Lots of orange puddles are everywhere. What do you think is coming from the sky? Take a look at those puddles. If you guessed orange juice, you're right. All of a sudden, we find ourselves standing in the shadow of a giant tuna fish sandwich, being delicately airlifted by helicopter. In the distance, another helicopter races off with a jumbo pickle in tow. This might be a clue to the title of the story. Remember, it's called Pickles to Pittsburgh. When we reached what is left of the town, we see the remnants of a sign welcoming us to a place called Chew and Swallow. Do you remember that town? That was where the setting was for Cloudy with a Chance of Meatballs. Setting is the place of the story. Somehow I know I've heard that name somewhere before. We walked through the entire town in amazement. Do you remember the storm that was in Cloudy with a Chance of Meatballs and why the people had to leave? So much food was being left around the town that they couldn't live there anymore. This is what it looks like now. To the east, the weather is changing and we can see sandwiches raining down. As soon as they land, they are piled up neatly, ready for shipment on a freighter anchored down by the shore. There's a clipboard here. I'll read it to you. It says, shipping schedule, Monday, eggplants to Ecuador, chili to Chile, milk to Milwaukee, hamburgers to Hamburg. On Tuesday, pickles go to Pittsburgh, pears to Paris, artichokes to Argentina, sandwiches to Sandusky. Large reservoirs of milk and cream flow into extra large containers, which are lined up, ready to be loaded onto a ship. Printed on the sides of the trucks are the words, Falling Food Company, large food for large and small countries. Free. So the people had a problem in Chew and Swallow. They had too much food. But it looks like now they're finding ways to deliver food to the people that need it. They're solving a problem by helping others. One of the workers tells us that Chew and Swallow used to be a very ordinary little town, except that instead of weather, food rained down from the sky for breakfast, lunch, and dinner. Remember? 3 times a day. Back then, he says, by some quirk of nature, the falling food grew larger and larger. Storms of gigantic food threatened normal life. So the people took their belongings and sailed away to a new land on rafts made of huge slices of stale bread. I had to peek over the book to make sure I was showing you the pictures. You remember when that happened? That was the very last thing they did before they left Chew and Swallow. They returned years later to see what happened to Chew and Swallow. They discovered an endless food supply and decided to create the Falling Food Company. Oh, so it was the characters from the first story that came up with the solution to the problem. See all the different ways that they're delivering the food now. Now daily shipments are made to all parts of the world, from the smallest towns to the largest cities. As soon as the food lands, it is wrapped, boxed, bottled, or packaged, and sent out to people who need it. This is a great solution for when you have too much of something. You can think about who else might need it. Sometimes it might be food, sometimes it might be clothes, sometimes it might be toys. When you have too many of those things, you can always think about somebody else that might be able to use them. Even with poverty and drought. Poverty is when you don't have enough money. Drought is when you don't have enough of things that you need. Sometimes things like water. Throughout the world. There is always enough food for everyone. Look how they're all sharing that. Henry and I think this is a great idea. We wish we could stay and work here, but I don't think they hire kids. It's getting late, and we hate to leave, but we really have to be heading home. Mom's expecting us for dinner. The workers give us a 2-foot-wide chocolate chip cookie, which we carry back to the plane. It just barely fits through the door. How would you like to have a cookie that big? I don't think I could finish it, but I could certainly share it. We buckle up. I rev the engine, and we start rolling down the bacon runway. As everyone waves goodbye, we can see dinner approaching from the west. Spaghetti and meatballs, I think. As we gain altitude, Chew and Swallow slowly vanishes into the distance. Would you like to get up and stretch? You can stand up, put your arms out, and imagine that you are an airplane. And you're going to fly around into circles. You ready? We're going to fly. 1 circle, 2 circles, 3 circles, 4 circles, 5 circles. All right, prepare for landing. Slow down. Bring your body back down. And we'll finish the story. My alarm clock woke me up with a jolt. It was finally Thursday and I wanted to get to school fast. The sooner I got there, the sooner I'd get home, and the sooner I'd see Grandpa. When we got home, we ran as fast as we could into Grandpa's waiting arms. I brought back something for you, said Grandpa, and he gave each of us a very large box containing a chocolate chip cookie he had gotten on his trip. They were the biggest we had ever seen, almost 2 feet wide. Mom made Grandpa's favorite dinner, chicken and dumplings, and we surprised him with our special welcome home cake. He chose the slice with the mustache. Grandpa in his bed. Find out what he's doing. By the time dinner was done, it was late and Grandpa was tired. When he was all tucked in bed, we knocked on his door to give him an extra goodnight kiss. Then I told Grandpa the most wonderful tall-tale bedtime story he had ever heard. It began, surrounded by milky blue skies and with Henry as my co-pilot. Grandpa stayed awake till the very end. Then he looked at us with a very funny glint in his eye and he said, "Wait till I show you the pictures I took on my trip." And then he drifted off into his own wonderful dreams. I'd like to show you in that drawer the photos that Grandpa took. I noticed some meatballs coming from the sky. Do you notice them too? The end. At the very end, there's a map. And the map shows weather, a spaghetti and meatball front, frosty flakes, gravy storm, popcorn flurries, orange juice drizzle, a pizza blizzard, soda showers, pea soup fog, rolling thunder, and it's all happening in the town of Chew and Swallow. That's the end. See you next time for another story. Bye.